Hello, ladies. Judy Weber here with the Girls Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success, an amazing Facebook group for women in real estate. I'm also the co-founder of the livyGirl Success Boutique, which is the only real estate coaching and training company by women for women. And I'm super excited to bring you this interview. It's our 7th episode in our Outrageously Successful Women in Real Estate series. And it's my distinct honor to be speaking with Ann Dashiell. And she hails from Aaron Kerman Partners of Pacific Union International in the LA area. And before I dive into the questions, I just want to brag a little bit about Ann so that you know who it is that we are blessed to be talking with today. After being one of the top brokers in Houston for 22 years, Ann moved to Beverly Hills to be with her family. And that move led to the most memorable sale of her career. And I think that a sale of this magnitude and this special of a home would be probably number one in our memory banks as well. She landed a property known as the crown jewel of Holmby Hills. And I understand it's where Sonny and Cher used to live and other celebrities. And it sold for a record-setting $90 million. Isn't that crazy? And it was the third highest residential sale in LA history. So huge kudos for that. And within 2 years of her move to California, Ann was recognized as one of the top agents in LA County, which is like Manhattan, right? It's super competitive and it's high profile real estate market, and Ann has dominated that and she sits on top. Now I could talk on for the next hour about all of the awards and all of the kudos that Ann has gotten throughout the industry, but I just want to highlight a few. Last year she was ranked number 21 in the Real Deal's top 30 luxury brokers of Los Angeles County, which, ladies, as I said, it's a super competitive market. So that is just a wonderful credential for Ann. And she ranks number 2 nationally by the Real Trends with the average sales price of about $33 million. And in February, she was featured in the LA Times, and the title of the article was How I Made It. And she talked about how she made it as an outrageously successful woman in real estate. If this is your first time watching one of these interviews, I want to invite you to be sure to check us out on YouTube, and you find us on youtube.com/c/livyGirl TV. But without further ado, I want to say hey to Ann and welcome her.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. If you could just speak up. I'm so sorry that there is a little bit of a microphone issue, but we'll get through it. All right. So I want to talk about how you came to real estate. But before I do that, I really want to address the issue of this $90 million home. And I have 2 questions for you. First, how did you land the listing? And secondly, I read about how you handled showing the home and how that was a real reputation builder for you. So I'd love to hear those things.
That was a real challenge because everyone said I wouldn't sell it for $90 million. I mean, the owner wanted $90 million, and it was there. And when we went into escrow, no one had sold anything over 85. So it was the top sale in LA until at the very end of the year. 2 other homes sold. The other one was the Playboy Mansion, which is the sister house to Alwood. So we had 10.1 acres. So, and there were 3 houses on it. There was the main mansion and then 2 guest houses. So you had to get there early, set it up, and be ready to show it, because every showing was like, it was a potential, it was almost like a production. You had to answer all their questions. You had to have graphics. You had to explain it. There was a lot of history to it, and people needed to understand the background to pay the cost. It was going to try. It was listed for $150 million, which is really, that was everybody's attention. It was, I got up every morning and just was determined that I was going to sell it. I mean, and my daughter, who's an attorney, and now she's a mother of 4 children, and she used to kid me. She'd say, "Mom, you're never going to sell that. You need to just move on." And I tell her, "No, I'm going to get it done." And then it finally happened. But I was very organized. I'm just going to let you glance because this is all confidential. Do you see this list here? You see this?
Yep. And it's I see highlights on it.
Okay, so the highlights were how many offers I got. I got 19 offers on the property. And basically it was the client, the source of their wealth, the comments, the number of showings, the agent's company. So I tracked everybody. So I knew exactly what was going on and could come back and tell the owner, what the feedback was. And when I sold it, this is a tip for these agents. When I sold it, I sold it off a blog, off an email blast type thing that went out. And I designed an email blast and I sent it to everybody. And it was beautiful. And it had a color photo of the mansion. And the agent called me that day. And I showed it. That was on a Friday. I showed it on a Monday, but I lined up another showing of a very well-known billionaire that was in town and wanted to see it. So I had back-to-back showings so that I wanted some urgency with the first buyer, so that if he was super interested in it, that he felt that urgency, and he did. And we had it in escrow shortly later, within 2 or 3 days. So
that's excellent. And so it was I'm sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is, it was in escrow 7 months. That's the most important thing I think agents should understand, is that once we went in escrow, I never left town. I was here every single day because I wanted to make sure that they were able to access the property, do their due diligence so they wouldn't back out. So many people lose their sales after they go into escrow. And we finally closed it in September of 2016.
Right. I love that. And we're going to talk later about that, saving deals, because I mentioned, I talk to ladies across the nation every day. It's what I'm blessed as my job, to help real estate agents. And what I'm hearing is, oh, I had 3 listings, but I lost one. And I'm like, what do you mean you lost one? It was supposed to close. And so, yeah, I do want to talk about that a bit. But if I remember correctly, Ann, with this $90 million listing, it felt almost as if you were showing it before it actually became a listing. Am I right about that?
It never was listed.
Oh, it never was listed. Okay.
It was a pocket. The owner would not let me list it. She wouldn't let me advertise, and she wouldn't let me talk to the press. So it was difficult. I mean, you can imagine every buyer came from my mouth to their ears. So I had to get out and hustle and contact agents, and there's a lot of ways to sell houses that are not on MLS. And you have to get lists. You've got to go to the Forbes list. You've got to really. What I do is I target market all the agents that have sold in the area, have sold big properties, and then I go and I pull out all those little small agents that they have like a one hit miss, and like they do it once and then never do it again. I went back to all of them, all those independent agents, because a lot of times that's who will end up buying these big properties.
Okay.
But I had 19 offers, and that's a lot of offers within a 18-month period. And some of them she turned down, which I was very surprised she did, but finally sold it. And it's back on the market as a pocket now.
Oh, wow.
And
what's it listed at? Or what are they saying?
105 million.
Wow. All right. Well, let's go back to the very beginning, Ann, and tell the ladies, if you would, how you came into real estate. Because by way of background, you were an artist, right?
I'd been a model and an artist. I really, when I remarried, I was helping my husband in his business, but I really had no background, none in real estate, and very little as a businesswoman, except handling my art. And I did a lot of shows, and so I knew a little bit about keeping my books and whatever. But I was still prepared for this. And ended up getting a divorce, and I lost my father 2 weeks later. It was all during the same period. And I had 3 children and a daughter at UT, and I needed to make money. It was a bad divorce, and so real estate always the go-to place. So I got my real estate license, and it took a long time for me to make that first sale. And it's important that agents don't get discouraged, because really you need to learn the market. You need to get comfortable. You need to get your feet planted securely, and then you'll start selling. So the first one, it took me 9 months, and then I finally started selling, and then it never stopped. So you have to be patient. I think one big point is that don't get discouraged. Don't rush yourself. Give yourself time and learn the business. Knowledge is power. It's really
love that.
It's really
Love that. So can we get a little bit more specific? So someone in the beginning, let's say they're in their first 6 months.
Yes.
What would you say specifically they should be doing to learn the market?
And even today, all of my business came from, we used to call it prime time. It was phone time. They don't have phone time out here. I don't even know if they have phone time anymore. I think it's kind of outdated,
It
but
depends, yeah.
Back then everyone had phone time, and I would always, I got good phone time because I was the top producer of the company after 2 years. And I never missed it. And I got a lot of prospects off of phone time. And then the other thing is, even out here, the majority of my clients have come from open houses. I mean, I do really great at open houses. I get everybody's phone number, their email address. I know what they're looking for. So, and it's important when you do an open house, you dress for success. You do your homework. You don't just put out your signs, show up and sit in a chair and wait for people to come and talk to you at the house. It makes me crazy that these agents will be sitting there on their cell phones, and you walk into an open house and they like wave and say, if you have any questions, call me, holler. And I don't do it that way. I take each one through the house. I talk to them. I ask them what they're looking for. And then and you can tell if they like the house or not. And if it's not for them, then I always say, I know of a lot of other properties that are not even on the market at the tip, that are not on the market, because that way they want to call you. If they can only, talk to you. I mean, if they're only going to call you because of the internet, that's just not going to help you that much. See, when I first got in the business, people did not have access to the internet. So they had to have an agent work with them. That was a real different hurdle to overcome when the internet became available for everyone. So use the open houses. The other thing is, run everything in the neighborhood that is sold and that's on the market. Have that at your open house. Know your market around the house that you're holding open. And that way, if they come in there, you can talk about the other properties, and they will, if they're savvy and they're looking in the neighborhood, they know what's sold. Buyers today are very smart. They've studied the market, and they want information. Know your price per square foot. Know how much lots go for, how big the average lot is. The size of your property is really important. How big is the house? How many square feet in the house? Is there a guest house? Just, you've got to know your market. If you don't know your market, they're going to go with the next agent. They want to be represented by someone who's smart and that can help them and that can give them information. So be prepared at the open houses. And you can build your whole business on an open house. And the way to do that is you've got to have good open houses. And so cater to the top agents in your company. That's how you can, ask them to let you hold, offer them a referral, do something. You can't, you're not going to get any good business if you're not holding open good houses. So that's important to target the houses you want to hold open.
Okay, super. Let's talk about that a second. Now I want to drill that down. And let's go back to Texas where you started. Because in the Beverly Hills, the price points are just, I don't know that many here on the call or that will be listening can really relate to multi-million-dollar homes on a regular basis. So, you know, maybe, but I don't think many. So let's go back to Texas and think about that. Or even, I guess I'm going to go back to open houses, but I want you to put your mindset in Texas instead of LA and say, the biggest objection that I'm getting from our clients is, how do you get them to give us their email and phone number? Because when they give it, you know, I think I've connected, but now I found that it's not a good number or it's not a good email.
That, you know, I've been very successful at doing that. And that goes into another story I'll tell you in a minute. But first of all, you can tell if they like the house. Most of the time they don't. And you ask them what they're looking for. Ask a lot of questions. You know, what style of house are you looking for? How much do you want to pay? What area? Do schools matter? And they'll start talking to you, and then you know your market. So I can say, I know great house for you. It's not on the market. I can send you information. Let me get your email. So what I do is, instead of making them sign in on an open house register, because people don't like their names out there for everybody to look at. They don't want people knowing they're looking for a house. So I have my book. You know, it's old timey. You know, I know the agents walk around with their iPhones and they put all their information in. I like my hard copy book. And so I write down everything about them to try to remember, like what they're looking for, what the price point is, anything I can find out. Do they have kids? What's the wife's name? And you can get the email and the phone number. And then if they're not going to want to give you the phone number, and you say, if the email doesn't go through, I need your phone number. And I always reassure them. I tell them, I say, I'm not going to bug you. If you don't want to do business with me, no, it's fine. I won't. I'm not going to pester you. But I'd love to work with you and find you what you want. Why don't I send it to you and you can take a look at it? If you want to see it, we'll go out. And then usually I get 90% of their phone numbers and emails at the open house. There's always that 10% that don't want to, because either they're working with another agent, they don't want anybody knowing they're looking, but usually you can get it. But you've got to make them feel comfortable. Nobody's going to do business with you. Nobody's going to give you their phone number and their email if they're not comfortable with you. I wouldn't, you know, I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Ask yourself, would I be comfortable working with them? And if if you're not, then make the changes to where they are comfortable, because that's the biggest key, is that buyers and sellers have to be comfortable with you and feel like that you are working for them, for their behalf. And that is critical. You know?
Beautiful. I love it. Can I ask you, what marketing materials would you bring with you to your open house?
So the marketing materials, I bring everything that's sold in the neighborhood, everything that's on the market. I bring my pockets. Out here, they're called pockets. You know, what do they call it elsewhere? Do y'all do a lot of pocket business?
Coming soon. I mean, we really don't have that in the greater Philly area, at least not in my segment.
Okay, then if I was an agent in Philly, I would be the agent that started the pocket movement. And I would say, you know, I've got pockets, you know, set yourself apart, be in the front running, you know, coming soon. Anybody can say coming soon. That means it's going to be listed. You know, start talking in the lingo of pockets, and then that would set you apart. You know, do your direct mail and say, you know, and I have an agent that sends stuff to me all the time, and they'll say, the whisper price is, I like that, you know. So that even tells you it's really confidential. Because I work in both commercial and residential. And you know, agents really don't need you unless they're looking for off-market properties, because they can get on the internet. And so you've got to set yourself apart as, look, I know what's on the market, but guess what? I know what's off the market. And then they'll call you.
Great. And the reason that you know that, Ann, is because you are tight with the agents in your area. Is that
right? You know, first of all, the next step is being nice to people. Okay. You know, it's just out here, it was very challenging to get in the market because the agents out here do not like newcomers in Beverly Hills and Bel Air. It's a very cliquish type of market. And it was, and I will say, Alwood probably was the biggest gift I've ever gotten in my entire life because it gave me instant credibility. It was like, how did she get Alwood? Who is she? I mean, she's some little agent from Texas, for God's sakes. I mean, how would she know what this market is? So you have to befriend the agent. They're not going to give you. They're not going to let you set their open houses if if they don't like you. So you have to make friends with them. It's very important. I like to bake, and I bake banana bread, and so do something nice for them. You know, tell them you'll give them a referral fee. You know, if you're a baker, bake them some bread, bring them some wine. You have to do something because every agent is going to be asking to hold it open. Everybody in the office wants to hold it open. And so you have to set yourself apart of why would they want you to hold it open, you know? And hold on, I just lost you.
Uh-oh. I see you and I hear you.
Okay, now you're back on. But I think that, you know, first of all, you've got to give them a reason to call you. All right. If you have other things that I would bring to the open house, I bring information about the house. And then I bring information about myself, you know, that's there. They also want to deal with this is a big business, especially out here. It's big dollars. So they want to know that they're represented by somebody who's smart, who's experienced, who knows how to negotiate. So you have to sell yourself also. And I will tell you, I'm going to go back to when I first got in business, because this is really important. When I first got in business, nobody thought that I would make it, and they nicknamed me Fluffy. And that was, they just like behind my back, and they would say, Fluffy ain't going to make it a year, for God's sake. Poor thing, she's did a job. And so when I was the top producer of the company within 20 months, it took everybody by surprise because I wasn't talking about listings. Back in Houston, they had a big chalkboard and everybody would put up their sales every single month. So you knew who was doing what and how much they sold. I didn't put mine up there. I left them all. And so nobody knew that I was doing great. You know, so becoming the top producer was like, whoa. And then the next year in business, I was number 18. By year 5, I was number 5 in the city. So you bring that information to the open house. You let them know that you're experienced, that you work hard, and that you'll do the best job for them. So what happened was, and this was a great company, and after about 3.5 years, 4 years, I went into the owner of the company and I said, you know, I've been thinking about this, and why am I doing so great? You know, what is it that I'm doing? And, you know, she's like, you know how people, you know, talk up to the, you know, top producers, like, oh, because you're so good, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. I know I'm good at what I'm doing, but what am I doing? Because what if I stop doing what I'm doing, then suddenly you're going to go back from number 1 to number 4. And she turned white as a sheet. And she said, I'm gonna get on it. So she hired a marketing company. They went back, took 3 months. They went back and they they interviewed my prospects, past sales. They talked to everybody that was doing business with me or had done business with me. And then we had a big meeting. We all sat down and they said, okay, we know exactly what you're doing. You know, everyone said the same thing. You know what it was?
I would say caring for your clients like nothing, like nobody's business.
What it was trust. They said within 15 minutes of being with her, we felt like we felt like she'd taken us under her arms and that she was going to take care of us and that she would not leave us wrong. And that's the other important part, is that they've got to trust you and they've got to feel comfortable with you. And so when I would show houses, if we would walk in a house and it was just not a good house, I would tell them. I mean, I would tell the agent, thank you for showing it. And I would tell the buyer, look, you don't want to buy this house, you know, and then even the wife would say, but I love it and it's bright colors and blah, blah, blah. And the husband would look at me, you know, like, okay, what? And I'd say, it's not a good buy. It's just not a good buy. And these are the reasons it's not a good buy. So by turning down potential business because you wanted to find the right house that was the right buy, they realized she really does care, and so it really, it started snowballing, and people started telling people, you need to call her. She really will take good care of you. And one time I was showing a couple, I'd shown them about 4 months, and sweet couple, and we couldn't find anything. And finally we were out one morning early, and I said, I really have found the house for you this time. I mean, I think this is it. And I said, it's really safe. It's secure. There's gates on the outside. And finally the husband said, okay, who told you about our situation? And I said, nope, nobody. I really knew nothing about it. It was a cold call. They called in on the phone. And he said, you really don't know? And I said, no, I have no idea. He said, I'll tell you. And their baby had been kidnapped 5 years before. And they were hysterical about safety for their two babies. And he said, you picked up on it like so quickly, and it really hit me between the eyes, because I thought, you've got to be open to that. You've got to really listen to your clients, ask them a lot of questions. And in the interview, when they were interviewing my clients, they said that I asked a lot of questions, but I gave a lot of information about myself and I didn't even realize this, that I wasn't trying to make my life like, oh, I've got these beautiful children, I live in Memorial, blah, blah, blah. I didn't try to sugarcoat my life. I told them I'm divorced. It's been rough. They knew what was going on with me, where they could talk to me. I had a teenage son that was he was acting out at the time, and I talked about it. And I think that makes you more vulnerable with people. Don't try to portray your life, because nobody likes to deal with anybody perfect. There's nothing worse than dealing with somebody who's got the perfect life, and they like to deal with broken people who are successful, who have history. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And so, and then it gradually built to where I was handling really the top businessmen in the city, because the word got around that I looked at things as numbers. Okay. Think like a man. It's the truth. You've got to think like a man in business. If you're a home is the single largest purchase most families will ever make. They need to make a good buy. So think like a man. Do your numbers. Know your square footages. Know if it's a good buy. Compare it to other houses, so that they feel like they got value. And once you finally make the sale, stay in contact with them. Don't drop them, which that's hard to do when you're really busy. But always take them a lovely gift after. Don't take it to closing. Take it after. So that you have a reason to come back, in a month, so that you can meet with them and you can see their house. But otherwise you're going to lose them, and there's going to be somebody that's going to come and pick up their business when they go to sell again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Wow. That was so much great information. I'm like, I couldn't even write it fast enough, but that's why it's great this is recorded, so we can refer back to it. I love what you said, Ann, about be real, be vulnerable, because you know how everybody on the internet saying content is king. I'm saying personality is king. You've got to allow your. Go ahead.
You have to be warm. My daughter says to me, I lack a grudge gene. She said, you've got to get one. And I said, no, you're not going to change me. I mean, I'm old now. I'm getting really old. I said, I'm just the way I am. And she said, people will, there's a lot of backstabbing in this business. I mean, I don't know if it's as bad elsewhere, but out here, agents are constantly stealing your clients, and sometimes it's not good. And I don't stay mad at people, because it doesn't do anybody any good, certainly not you. And I just think it's important to be somebody that they want to get in the car with. I mean, put yourself in their position. would you want to ride around with them? Would you want to spend an afternoon with them? You know, I mean, and if you're not, then what's wrong? You know, make them a priority. I see so many agents that are so stressed, especially out here with people honking their horns 24 hours a day. You know, when you pick them up, when you go meet them that's the other thing is when you go to show, and I still do this, have a sheet that has your appointments, you know, information about the house. I always run the MLS, or if not, I always bring the tax. So have the tax information and the MLS with you. Bring that to every showing and have that with you. So the first house in a packet. So we call it the packet. So I have a packet, and in it has my bio and my resume and like the article that was written in the LA Times. And then I have information about all the houses that we're going to see. And that's all in the packet, because you may be able to remember every house that you go into, but buyers can't. So they need to be able to refer back so they can remember what they saw, especially out-of-town buyers, because they are seeing a lot of properties and it's a lot of information coming in. So, it's amazing to me that here, especially in Houston, they did beautiful brochures. Here, they really rarely do brochures. And agents show up at the showings without anything in their hands. So how do people remember everything? You've got to give them the documentation to where they can look at the houses when they get back and talk to their husband or talk to their wives about it, and can look at and remember it from the picture. So be prepared and be in a good mood when you go pick them up. That nobody wants to look at a house with somebody that's, got problems or doesn't feel good or whatever. It's like you have to be on stage. It has to be, it's your job. It's your chance. And the first time you take them out is the most important time. You've got to get them. You've got to get them or you're going to lose them. There's so much competition.
Right. Okay. I love that. Now, earlier, before we started recording, Ann, you said, hey, you know what? I prefer buyers and listings, they're not really my thing. And again, did you feel that same way in Texas, or is that since you've been to California?
I've always felt like that. When I opened my company, I opened it with 22 listings, 22 really beautiful listings. And listings to me there's so much pressure, because people that are listing their house have unreal expectations, first of all. There's a lot of emotion. Hi, Rosa. One of my agents just walked in. There's a lot of emotion in listing your house for sale. And maybe they want to list it, maybe they don't want to list it, and then they call you constantly. Right now I have Mel B's and Stephen Belafonte's house for sale. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful home. And it should have sold. We had an offer on it back when we first were listed. That's the other thing, is your first offer is always your best offer. And before you take them out to show them properties, you need to tell, this is on a listing appointment. You tell the potential client, the first offer is going to be your best offer. If we get an offer, we have to look at it really serious. Don't pass it just because it's your first offer, because you'll be sorry. And that's the other thing is that, when you're showing, I like to be in first, and I like to get the offer done, and I like to do a response time that's quick. Don't wait for everybody else to get in and see it, because then you're going to get into multiples and multiple contracts. You need to, don't give them much time. You want a quick response. Texas, it was much easier to do that. I could put an offer in, do a quick response time, have it done in 24 hours. One time there was a house, I knew it was going to sell quickly, and the people wanted it, and I've been really showing them for a long time, and I had to get it done. And I got it at 2:00 in the morning. We got it agreed, and the buyer said to me, okay, well, I'll see you in the morning. And I said, oh, no. I'm on my way right now. You've got to sign it, because they're going to have multiples in the office when she gets to the office in the morning. And she said, you're going to come at 2:00 in the morning? I said, yeah, sure am. I'm on my way.
got it signed up, and sure enough, the next day they had 3 offers in the office. So don't wait. You know, you'll lose it if you wait. You know, if you get it agreed, get it signed, and get it into, you know, see, here they have escrow companies. In Texas, they don't have escrow companies, but get it in. And the other thing is, and my ex, God love him, he gave me some really good advice. He said, and I told buyers this and sellers, don't lose it over $50,000 or $60,000. And the way you do that is you amortize that over 30 years. Okay, so take how much, let's say you're 75,000 apart, and neither person will budge. Okay, and you know it's a good buy, and take that 75,000, amortize it over 30 years at 4%, and say you're going to lose your house over this much. You know, make them understand how little it is. It sounds like a big number, but it's not. You don't let a deal fall apart over a little bit of money. If you have to lower your commission, do it. If the same thing is in inspections, do whatever you do to keep it in escrow, because otherwise you're going to have to go back and show them properties again. They will never get over the house they lost. They're going to still want that house. And it's just, it's money. You know, you can make more money. Put it together. If it's what they want, make it work. And put yourself in their shoes. Always try to think about it if it was me. You know, like I've had a buyer like dig in their heels and say, I'm not spending anymore. This is it, you know, and agents will get frustrated. And the fact is, what if it was you? You know, would you want to go higher? Would you feel comfortable? Understand that may be all they have. You know, you've got to relate to them as though it's yourself, and don't try, you know, give them time. You've got to be patient with people. And I mean, I reduce my commission if I have to, you know, to make it work. You know, I had an agent literally was going to lose, is in Texas. I'll never forget her. I still remember her name. And she was going to walk over $100. And I was like, you got to be kidding, you know? Uh-oh, here, this is a missed call. And hold on, so I can't get back. How do I get off?
Wow, that's loud. All right. Well, as you handle that, let me ask you the next question. All right. How do you have a written process, Ann, of how you keep in touch with your past clients? Like, do you have a CRM and a automatic something or other, whether it's by email or handwriting campaign? What do you do in that regard?
Oh, that's so funny. I'd love to be able to say, oh yes, I'm so organized and I just have everything, and I have all kinds of tickle systems and everything. In Houston, I had top producer, and I had an assistant that had been with me for 11 years. Oh my God, tell him I can't get on the screen. He needs to help me. And I can't get on the screen. He was wonderful. His name was John Durfee. Oh my God, he was the best assistant in the world. And if you're in Houston and need an assistant, you know, he's an agent now, but you ought to call him. He's just marvelous. And he used top producer, and he kept the tickle system and the whole ball, you know, wax. But here, okay, so how do we manage all of our buyers? We kind of, you know, yeah, we keep a running list. They, of course, have it in their iPhone. I have it in my little pink book. My son is now doing, he and Philip are now doing spreadsheets. That's my new thing, you know. And we're looking into getting a system because the business is growing. But I'm kind of going into commercial now, too, which is a completely different ballgame. Which one? Contactually or Salesforce, you said?
Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. And so I remember reading that in some of your responses, you talked about you didn't have a drip email campaign. You weren't even quite sure what that was. And that's perfectly great. And I smile because I want these ladies to know technology is a tool. It is right. Not like if you don't have it, the name of the game, I don't want to say game, but the thing you need to do is to stay in touch. It's about relationships. So you don't need all this techie stuff. It helps. But so you mentioned about direct mail. and how you do that with the crane stationery and all that good stuff. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, everybody gets so much from different agents and brokers all the time, and you throw it in the trash, don't even look at it. So what I devised, and it works, is that I use a beautiful, we don't have one, we have one downstairs. You go get it, one of the envelopes. And so what I do is, it looks, beautiful stationery, cream color. The envelope is hand addressed, with beautiful handwriting, and with a beautiful stamp. And so they think they're getting an invitation to a wedding or something. I mean, it's nice. And they open it, and it's a nice little short letter that says, I am not trying to get your listing. First of all, I really do have a buyer, which I really do. I have buyers everywhere looking. I really have a buyer who's interested in your house. And, would you please, call me if you would like to sell, and let me show it. And I'm honest, because I always have a buyer, and then it's funny, we sent out like 50, and I think I got 3 or 4. I got a lot of calls. That's a lot. That's a big return on that many letters. So set yourself apart. Do something different. Don't send, you get these like my daughter's mother-in-law gets these letters, they're in this white envelope. They got a stick tab on the front. I mean, they're not, he wants to open it, and it shows that the agent's not into quality. They want somebody that handles their business in a very high quality manner. So be that person, they'll open your envelope if you make it one that they want to open. Don't do it like everybody else does it. Save the direct mail pieces you get, but do something different. I really, out here, the ways that I've built my business out here. Oh, here, so anyway, so basically, here's what I do. It's so this is the envelope. So it's like, you see, it's a really beautiful envelope that it's cream color. Don't use white. Use cream color. Hand address it. Go get some very pretty stamps and send something out that they want to open. That's number one. The open houses, that's the other way I get my business. And then referrals. Now people are starting to refer me, because I've been here, now long enough where I'm starting to get referrals. And I'm always looking for properties that are not on the market. You've got to find things to sell that people are going to want to see. You've got to set yourself apart in some way. But you can have all the tools in the world. You can have the best, tickle system and the best, internet, and have all the computers in the world. But if you can't communicate with your clients in a personal way, they're not going to use you. You're not going to. Look at the top producers. What are the top producers in your city doing? Study them. Find out what are they doing that sets them apart. Other thing is, especially out here, it's so different, is that in Houston, back when I got into real estate, you were not allowed to wear jeans or slacks, or you had to dress at the company. Here, what I do is I wear theory. Okay, so I have a look. That's my look, and I'm always dressed. And it doesn't matter if I go to the grocery store or if I'm at the drugstore. You want to be approachable, because I get business wherever I go. If you're dressed like a slob, don't have any makeup on, your hair's wrecked, they're probably not going to talk to you. Because you don't look the part. So if you want to be a top agent, look the part. Look at the other agents around you. What are they doing that you think makes them so successful? I think that's a key, is that, when the other thing is that in business, and this is a proven fact, mirroring works. You've got to mirror your clients, because you've got to talk to them in their language. I learned this probably in year 4, is that there's 3 ways to relate to people. They're either emotional, feelings person, they're audio, or they're visual. You've got to figure out what kind of person you're dealing with. And you've got to talk to them in their language, because if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere with them. So that's the first thing is I do is determine what they are. And there's some questions you can ask them to find out. Like you say to them, what is it about this property that you love? Okay. If they say, it's so beautiful, I love the yellow flowers when we walked up, or I love the way that looks, you know they're visual. If they say it's so quiet and so peaceful, you know they're auditory. If they say, oh, when I walk in there, it's all warm and cozy and so comfortable, you know they're a feelings person. Most 75% of men are visual, 75% of women are emotional. So you're not talking to them in their language. You've got to talk to them and relate to them, and so that they listen to you. Because if you do, you're going to get a lot farther with them. So that's how you communicate with them. And here, get an offer. You get it, Philip. So you've got to talk to them in their language. Be responsive. Okay. I mean, I don't get any sleep. I work all the time, but you know, you have to learn how to close a sale. And I got advice a long time ago from my daddy. He said, you don't say grand. You don't say a grand. You say $1,000. Because a grand makes you think like you're hustling. You don't say deal. You say transaction or sale. You know, don't talk in a language that makes you look like you're hustling them. This is their home. You know, and of course we're doing, you know, commercial too, but when you're dealing in residential, it's got to be warm and fuzzy. When the man usually, in Texas, the men would always come in when it got down to buying the house because of the money. Here, it's very different because, you know, the women are much more forceful out here. But the men would usually come in and they would be the final say in the couples about whether they wanted to buy or not. So with them, you need to have all your data right. You need to be able to give the wife what she wants, but also give the husband all of the sales on a price per square foot, how much the lots go for in that area, how big is the lot. Land is more valuable, so the bigger the lot, the better. The other thing is when you're showing them, don't just show them everything on the market. Show them what works for them. By then, you know, talk to them a lot. Find out what they want. Find 5 great houses that work for them and show them those. Don't take them out and show them 10 houses and wear them out because they won't remember. You know, you have to think about it before you take them out. Trying to think of what else we should do.
Okay, let me see if I can follow up on something. When you're talking about closing the sale, can I just talk to you about when you get buyers? Do you, where you are now or in Texas, do you have a buyer's agreement? And before you actually get in the transaction, do you require your buyers to sign that exclusive buyer's agency agreement?
I never do. No. Because I wouldn't sign it. You know, and I always look at it as would I do it? If somebody asked me to sign an agreement, I would say no, I'm not going to do it. You know, because I need to see how it works. I need to. You know, I got a letter. I was working on this sale, and I worked really hard on it, and at the last minute, he decided against it because he realized that he couldn't afford it. It was really too expensive. And so somebody came in the office and they said to me, oh yeah, I've shown him property. And I was like, really? You know, because he's very loyal to me. And so I wrote and I asked him, I said, you know, are you working with other agents or, you know, what's going on? And, you know, how do you want to proceed? And he said, I am not working. He called me. He said, I am not working with any other agents. And he said, why would you think that of me? I want to go with anybody else because somebody in the office said something they were showing you. He said, you told them. He said, they showed me the house 8 or 9 months ago. And I didn't like it. And they've been calling me ever since. I haven't called them back. So the agent I found out was jiving me. Okay. And I thought, boy, I can't believe I still fall for it after all this time. And he wrote me, he said, why on earth would I want to do business with somebody else after you've worked so hard and done such a good job? He said, no, you'll sell me a house. I just don't know when it's going to be. And that's what you want. You want your clients to be loyal to you, and you want them to do business with you because they want to, not because they signed an agreement.
Gotcha.
What if they don't? What if they don't want to do business with you? You don't want to make them. You know, you don't want to sue them over the agreement. I just don't think. I wouldn't sign it. So I think that makes you look needy. Makes you look like you're not confident in your ability to keep them as a buyer. So I don't advise that.
I agree with you, Ann, but it's so funny because every broker I had, and I've been in the business for, I guess, 12 years or so, and I had, I guess, 4 brokers, and everyone said, Judy, you've got to get them to sign. And I said, if they're going to love me, they're going to love me, and that signature is not going to keep them with me. So, and if they don't like me,
yeah, then they need to find somebody to take care of their business that they do like. You don't want to force them. It's like, do you want to be forced to go to your doctor? You want to be able to pick the doctor you want. I think it's really important not to do that. It makes you look desperate.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Ann. How about this? And I kind of talked about this earlier, but I really want to get a little bit more specific. So out of the big market like Manhattan or where you are in LA, if you are in maybe even a second tier market, like a suburb of a suburb, okay, and you moved from one place to another, and let's say you don't have family relations there, like you are moving because of a spouse's job or whatever, and you're in a whole new place, how would you recommend someone, whether they've been in the business for a while or not, going, cross country, how can they start making an inner circle or a sphere for themselves from zero?
Well, first of all, out here, when I moved out here, my family really hasn't referred me to business. They're both, my daughter is an attorney, married to an attorney. And I think they just feel like, it's kind of a fine line because, what if it goes down bad? For some reason they just happen. We don't really mix business and personal. My my son's a TV producer, so he really does, and he doesn't live in the neighborhood, so he really doesn't have the business to refer me. He's getting in the business. Thank goodness I've talked him to joining me. I'm so excited and get out of that entertainment business. But so I really started cold, and the way to do it is open houses. That's how I built my business out here. I held something open every single Sunday. The other thing is that so many agents are lazy. So when I moved out here, I literally worked 7 days a week the first year. I never took a day off. And, until you get your business going, you've got to work every day. You've got to be involved in your business every day. You've got to talk to people in the office. You've got to find the good open houses. Out here we have what they call a caravan. They don't do that in Texas. But it's so funny because every like today's caravan. So we're getting ready to go on caravan now. So every new listing and every house that's been reduced is on tour. Like somehow, look on the caravan list, Philip, and what's the most expensive house that's on tour today? People open their homes to all the brokers on some of the most expensive homes in the city. It's bizarre. In Texas, only the listing company would tour a house. You didn't open it to everyone. In fact, I was at a house on Caravan. I walked into a house and it had just been robbed. It's not that. I don't understand why they do it, but they do it out here. What is it? 77 million. A house for 77 million is on tour.
Wow.
45 million. So
20, 35.
yeah, it's crazy. So,
Yeah.
So go on tour if they have a tour. Meet the agents, talk to them, keep your business card with you all the time. Give it to everybody. I was talking to a lady. She was outside. She was pushing a lady in a wheelchair that looked like maybe she'd had a stroke or something. And we started talking, And the lady says to me, you know, I own 2 houses. Well, she's obviously getting ready to go to a nursing home. I gave her my card. I said, when you decide to sell, call me. I was at the Rite Aid, and I started talking to somebody, and he was an oral surgeon that lives here. And I was telling him about the neighborhood blog we have and gave him my card. You've got to put your card out there. Just you give it out to everybody. Tell them, you need help, call me, you know. Out here, they door knock. I never door knocked in Texas. Do they door knock in Philadelphia?
Some do. Some do.
I can't imagine, but they door knock out here. I'm not knocking, but I think open houses is absolutely the #1 way to get buyers. And you've got to be prepared to do the open house. You're wasting your time.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. And we're running out of time, and I know you have to go to Caravan. So just to clarify, when you had open houses, you wouldn't knock the surrounding homes just to kind of invite those sellers in to have like a private showing for the neighborhood homeowners? Never did that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you make sure there were a good amount of buyers at your open house? Just have good signage and advertise?
Real good signage. You put it in the computer, you know, you put it in MLS and Google. Where else does it go into? Yeah, Zillow, Redfin, it goes into everything. And it's a crapshoot. You know, I mean, you may have a good one, you may not. I picked up some great buyers at an open house in Brentwood that was very unexpected. But it's only going to be as good as you are. If you're not prepared, if you're not, you know, you've got to be like waiting at it's like with Alwood. I was waiting at the gate, ready to sell him that house. You know, you've got to be prepared, and you've got to know your area, and you've got to, you know you need to know about pockets. Pockets are the key. You know about properties that are off market, so they will call you. You know, and I just think that, you know, if you do all of this, you're gonna get business. You know,
That's excellent.
You know,
That's
and
great.
In Texas, I farmed, you know, and we had areas. In my area, I was the queen of the Memorial Villages. That was my area back then. I sent out a lot of direct mail. When I had my own company, I would have a Christmas party and invite all my clients, and they all came because I cook, and I would cook all the food. You know, open your heart and your home to them. You know, make them feel like your friend, and befriend them, you know, and that's how you build your business. I think that, you know, you have to make it a priority. You can't do this business part-time. I just don't think it works.
I think it's difficult, that's for sure. That's excellent. All right, Ann, thank you so much. That hour went like that. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say thank you, thank you. Your words of wisdom were just amazing, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been in the business for decades. I know I have people in the chat saying she's awesome. Thank you, thank you. So, Ann, again, thank you so much for your time. And ladies, we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. See you later. Thanks.
Take good
Bye-bye.
care, hon. Thank you so much, Ann.